What's going on, everybody? Sean Ross here, and this is going to be my review of RWBY, Volume 5, Chapter 7, entitled Rest and Resolutions. Now, many of you guys most likely already noticed by the length of this week's latest chapter that this is by far the shortest chapter we've had of Volume 5 thus far. It's a little bit disappointing, and I do wish it was a little bit longer, but we get what we get, and so far, just with this chapter alone, I did enjoy the content we had, but it kind of felt like nothing too big kind of happened until the very ending parts of this chapter. But besides that, the other way I'm actually viewing this week's chapter is it's kind of like the mid-season finale of Volume 5 for RWBY, because Volume 5 is going to be consisting of 14 chapters, and thus far we made it through the first 7, and I'm really curious to see how the crew behind RWBY is going to finish off this volume with chapters 8 through 14. But another thing I'm actually really curious about is your guys' overall thoughts and opinions on the first 7 chapters of RWBY Volume 5. So definitely leave your thoughts on the first half of RWBY Volume 5 down in the comments below. But my overall thoughts that I have on this week's latest chapter is that it felt very, very nostalgic to me. Like, I had a very nice smile on my face just watching as this chapter unfolded, and it reminded me of kind of like the earlier volumes of RWBY, Volume 1 and Volume 2, especially with the first section with all of our main characters just sitting down at the dinner table, just laughing, smiling, just having a good time with the company of everyone around them. I really did enjoy that. But the other sections in this chapter, especially that ending cliffhanger of Cinder and her team showing up to Raven's encampment, oh my god, I am so hyped right now for a Maiden brawl to break out. Cinder versus Vernal, that is going to be something to look forward to. But overall, I do think that this short chapter, there's not much to dive into, but I will dive into each section briefly because I still feel like there wasn't too much to talk about. But there is one reveal in the middle section when Opzin is talking to everyone. There is one reveal in that section that we are definitely going to have to talk about, but I'll just tease that for a little bit in case some of you guys just still have not watched the chapter yet. Go watch it right now. So this week's latest chapter starts off with this gigantic dinner feast with Jean, RWBY, Nora, Ren, Weiss, and Yang. They're just sitting around the dinner table, enjoying everyone's company, and basically catching everyone up on all of the events that have transpired ever since they separated at the ending of Volume 3. We have Team Ranger, you know, telling them about how they fought all these Grimm, and I love the fact that they ended up bringing up their fight with the Nukalave Grimm, how Jean, you know, held his own, how RWBY was able to tire it out, and how Ren was just going, you know, complete bonkers and was just so angry. I really did like that section, and they even brought in some comedic relief, you know, with Ren not getting what RWBY was trying to say about him, you know, just going all out and just being overall crazy. I really enjoyed that, but also having Weiss and Yang catch up with Team Ranger, letting them know what they've been up to so far as they've been traveling around Mistral. Weiss bringing up what happened during that party back in Volume 4 when she summoned, you know, that creature, that Grimm, the Hog Grimm, and, you know, sent it loose on that woman, and then even summoned it right there for Nora, and having Nora jump back, very surprised by that, showing them that, like, Weiss got a lot stronger. Weiss can now summon these Grimm to her fold, and she can even summon a knight that Yang saw a few chapters back. But then also just getting to see Yang just, you know, bragging right now about her robotic arm, and then breaking into an arm wrestling match between Yang and Nora. I really loved that moment, and just getting to see RWBY cheering on Yang, and just having Weiss still being, you know, the Ice Queen in that moment, you know, rolling her eyes, just being like, RWBY, you're wearing a skirt right now too. Very funny moments right there, but just getting them to just, you know, recollect, having them come together, and just having them having a good time, I really enjoyed it, and it was definitely very nostalgic, bringing me back to Volume 1 and Volume 2 of RWBY. But then it got very deep because this section really goes to show how all of these characters have grown over the course of the series, and they're thinking back to when they first met, and some of them are even embarrassed about how they used to act back when they first met. And Ren, you know, him talking and getting very deep with the conversation, letting everyone know it's like, it's because we've all changed, and now that we're looking back at who we used to be, and we're embarrassed about what we were, and we're confident now in who we are right now. That shows the growth that we have gone through over the courses of our journey, and I just really liked this opening moment and just having all of our characters coming together, having a good time, and just enjoying everyone's company. But once we dive into the second section, when Crow and Oscar slash Ozpin shows up, I really enjoyed this section because this dived into, catching Yang and Weiss up right away with what Raven told them last chapter about the maidens, about the magic, about Salem, basically confirming to Yang and Weiss that all the information that Raven told them was in fact true, but Yang has to point out to Ozpin, it's like, you guys are leaving one crucial detail out. Why don't you tell everyone right here, right now, what you ended up doing to my mom Raven and Crow? And Ozpin is like, oh, I know what you're talking about right now. I was able to turn them into birds. I did not force this upon them. I gave them a choice because I can also use magic. I needed people to scout for me, to basically travel around to spy on Salem, but also look for maidens when they were actually hard to find when they ended up reincarnating or, just exchanging souls, which makes a lot of sense. But I like the fact that this section definitely emphasizes the role of choice and how that ends up playing in everyone's future and actually their destiny, because destiny has been another huge thing that has also been brought up in RWBY. So Ozpin makes it very clear. It's like, I do not force this upon people. Everyone has a choice to make, whether it be good or bad. You always have a choice to make, but you have to stick to the choices that you make. I told Raven and Crow I could do this to them, but I gave them the choice and they ended up choosing, and so Crow ended up turning into a crow, and Raven ended up turning into a raven. But there is one piece of information that basically got confirmed during this section, and I know many people that were theorizing that Ozpin was the wizard are going to be very happy with basically this 100% confirmation that Ozpin was in fact the wizard that bestowed magic on the original maidens. They kind of glossed over it very nonchalantly, but I picked up on it right away, and I'm sure many of you guys did as well. But I'm really glad because it's kind of obvious that Ozpin was most likely going to be the wizard from the old tale with the maiden. So I'm really glad that that was confirmed during this section. And overall, this entire middle section probably makes the episode for me. Otherwise, it would just kind of be like, yeah, it was a nice, warm episode, but nothing too much got revealed. Nothing really happened. So this middle section definitely made the episode for me. But even having Nora, by the ending of the section, cracking the code, she's like, Crow, Raven, they're birds. Cracked it. I love that little section right there. I love Nora so much. By far one of my favorite characters of this series. Nora, never change. I love you so much. But now the only thing left to talk about for this latest chapter is that ending cliffhanger with Cinder, Watts, Emerald, and Mercury just strolling up to the front gates of Raven's tribe and being greeted by the same bandit that was causing trouble for Yang during the beginning parts of this volume. And I'm actually amazed that this is actually the name of this bandit character, Shady Man. That surprised me right there. Very subtle, RWBY, very, very subtle. But all I know right now is that Shady Man is about to get wrecked. He's about to get destroyed because Emerald and Mercury are on the scene, and I am very happy to see these characters once again. They are now making a resurgence into the story, but what I'm most hyped for right now is a Maiden versus Maiden brawl, Cinder versus Vernal. I'm really excited just to see a Maiden brawl break out, just to see their powers unleashed, and actually getting to see how much time and how much power Vernal has just to hone her skills and just to see if she can actually take down Cinder, because Cinder really hasn't had all that much time to hone her maiden skills. Vernal has, so this has me very intrigued to see how this battle will go down, and I can definitely see Vernal taking the advantage, but it all depends on if Cinder fights Vernal 1v1 or if Cinder will have Watts, Mercury, and Emerald joining in on the fight to take down Vernal. But overall, ending with that cliffhanger, it has me hyped for Chapter 8, but are we going to continue off with Raven and her team, going into Raven's encampment? I can definitely see Chapter 8 just, breezing over that entirely and maybe even getting that in Chapter 9, but right now, the back half of Volume 5 from Chapter 8 to 14, I'm really curious to see what the crew behind RWBY has to offer and how we're going to end off, RWBY Volume 5. And this isn't even talking about the whole storyline right now, how Blake and Adam, how that whole storyline with the Faunus and the White Fang is going to tie up as well, how Blake will end up making her way to Haven and joining back up with Team RWBY. I have no idea how we're going to get there right now. We still need to get some movement in that storyline to see where that could possibly go, but I am still very excited for the second half of Volume 5. But overall, guys, that is my review of Volume 5, Chapter 7 of RWBY. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below about what you thought about this week's latest chapter, but also what your guys' thoughts have been with the first 7 chapters that we've had of RWBY Volume 5 thus far. So that's going to be it for this video, guys, until Chapter 8 hopefully comes out next week, because I'm still wondering when we're going to get that World of Remnants for this volume. But until then, until Chapter 8, I'll talk with you guys later. See you guys.